Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the Tuesday, February 24th edition of the Daily Pulse. I'm your host, Teddy Panos, coming here from the WellPoint Studios here in beautiful, historic, snow-covered downtown Lowell. It's the morning after the big blizzard. Hope you're all doing okay. I hope you're all safe and you survived. It certainly looks like our area actually got a little bit lucky when you look at what's happening down in the South Shore and the coastal areas and people abandoning cars on highways. I'm seeing videos on Route 24 down in that area. So yeah, it was an awful lot like the blizzard of 1978. We'll talk about all of it here today and a bunch of other stuff, because joining us today on the Daily Pulse, none other than the city manager of the city of Lowell, the man in the arena, as Tom Brady says.
I love that. That's a Teddy Roosevelt reference.
Teddy Roosevelt, yeah. That's right. And,
to heck with anybody that's not in the arena with blood, sweat, and tears. And sometimes they are tears.
You're definitely in the arena, and tonight you may be the Christians getting fed to the Lions. But we got a lot to talk about with you. First of all, how are you doing? How did you survive the storm, and excellent. How's the city doing?
I'm doing excellent. Most importantly, to me, my kid's doing great. Thank God they're smart like my wife.
Yes, they took after them.
They took after her. Something that you have in common. We have in common. But no, things are going great. It really is. There's optimism, pessimism, and I just, as many people know, I choose optimism. I think that we need to continue to push forward, no matter what's going on. And I think that is the best way. Some people don't think it's a realistic view. Sometimes it can't be. Sometimes you have to, buckle up, put your head down, and solve. Right, solve for the next problem or solve for the issue that's before us. And I think from the administration standpoint, when you talk about snow or anything that comes challenging, that's what you need to do. The Eeyore kind of woe is me type thing, it's not going to solve the problem any quicker. So moving forward, I think that I'm doing well. The city's doing great. We have the 2026, the 200th, the bicentennial this year. Very, very excited with everything that's happening. Thank you to our sponsors, and thank you to the city council for putting some money aside, trying to continue to breathe, additional life. So many of our restaurants, and I'm not saying it because you're one of them, but so many of our restaurants work so hard day in and day out to be here in the city of Lowell, and we want to support them and support new businesses coming in, shipyards coming in, et cetera. There's a whole bunch happening, so pretty exciting time.
And we appreciate it's been a very rough winter in the I'm sure in every industry, except the snow removal industry. But we're looking forward to Winterfest this weekend, and certainly the 9-month celebration of the city's bicentennial.
Wear your duck boots, that's for sure. It'll be a little wet.
Yeah, it's going to get a little slushy, right?
Somebody had said to me, well, look at the bright side. We only get 12 inches of snow. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, the city of Lowell is equipped for 3, 4, 5-inch storms. From my old operations management day, you don't upscale to something that isn't a regular occurrence. It would be like you, Teddy, in the restaurant business saying, gee, I hope I sell 100 pounds of chicken. We typically only sell 20. Or whatever. I wouldn't even pretend to know what you're.
The saying is, you don't build a church for Easter Sunday.
I love that one even better. Right. So I think that DPW, our parks, the men and women that have worked there, some folks, they came in at 9 p.m. the other night. They worked a solid 16 hours, and then some stuck it out for 24. And that goes in, that includes our folks that we hire coming in off the contractors list. So we probably had at any point in time 100 pieces of equipment out there, probably in the 35 range for the city. I haven't got the final numbers yet to 60, 65 or 60, 40. Contractors usually tend to outweigh. And what happens with contractors, Teddy Panos has a construction company, is very happy to bring on 2 or 3 trucks. And Teddy, Timmy, and Tommy are, the 3 folks that are working in the area, that they know things. Tommy calls in sick. Well, Teddy still has responsibilities, and he brings in his brother-in-law, Brian, who may not be that good. And that's the God's honest truth. I've said this ad nauseum, and people are probably sick of hearing it, but I plowed for over 2 decades. So I kind of know a little bit about...
Did you really?
Yeah. Yeah, through the property management stuff that I did. Right?
You drove the truck?
Oh, yeah.
Put the plow down?
Oh, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, I
And
didn't realize that about you.
And
I thought you were a white-collar guy. Look.
No, actually, I still love snow blowing and stuff like that. I'm kind of a, it's things that I can do.
The snowblower is awesome.
I love it. And I was out a couple times yesterday. But anyhow, I guess my point is it's an art. And some people, quite frankly, just simply aren't good at it. So when you have 60 or 70 folks that are out there, if you have, 7 or 8, 9, 10 that are giving it their best but don't exactly know how to stack. I mean, I'll tell you a story. The last couple of storms back, many, I haven't probably been in the back of a truck in 3 years. And my guys gave me a hard time. I showed up. It was one of those long duration storms. I said, hey, I brought some pizza and everything else. I'll help out, clean up. Brought them some food and stuff. They were sitting there, and I almost got stuck. Stacking snow in front of all the guys, and they kind of gave me the business for it. Oh, you lost your touch. So it's hard. It's difficult. I appreciate our DPW men and women that were out there for that upwards of 18 to 24 hours. I have some real tired people right now that are working, and tired people working around equipment's not a good thing. So very, very proud of what they did, and thank you. And I want to say thank you to the citizens. People have really stepped up on this one. People are not throwing snow as much into the street.
I caught a couple on my drive home last night.
It is still happening. There's no question about it. Myself, the assistant city manager, Machado, as well as Paul St. Cyr, and all of the spotters, we try to remind people you could be fined for that. We're not trying to find folks. We're just trying to make it happen.
You're driving around telling people don't shovel snow into the streets?
Well, I kind of, myself and the assistant city manager, we try to add as an additional outlet for the commissioner. So it's that opportunity where we work for the commissioner. How can we help you? This is what we're seeing. This ACM Machado takes all of the calls, which I'm very grateful for. And if I'm on one side of the city, he's on the other side of the city. He's like, hey, can you check this out? A constituent Panos just called. There's a problem on 123 Street. Great. If I'm in the area, sometimes Sean's much better at this than I am, in the sense of he'll call over to see where the spotter is. Me personally, I think it's just easier if I go over and put my eyes on it. I've been at plenty of job sites like that, because I think it shows two things. One, not to give direction. I try not to give direction on the job site. That is up to the spotter, as well as typically, when I'm there, the commission is going to be there because there's a problem. So, and we, I talked about that a couple of times on the council floor. I was with one of the councilors talking about, how did this happen? And it happened just like I said it, right? Tommy, Timmy, and Teddy were all out, and Timmy called in sick. Brian came in and kind of, honestly, messed it up. But it's okay. It didn't happen this time, So
a couple of things I want to talk about that, and we'll get into it in more detail on that. We're going to talk about the senior center, because everybody on social media is talking about the senior center and how the city is getting screwed, and you're caving and letting it happen. That's the narrative out there. So I want to talk about that.
Thankfully, I don't pay attention to Facebook comments.
Yeah, come here. I'll make sure to let you know.
You can tell me all about that.
Everything you're saying. We'll talk a little bit about the Frontrunner City, the budget season, and we'll see what else we have time for. We're chatting with Lowell City Manager Tom Golden on the Daily Pulse, the show that keeps its finger on the pulse of Lowell and the world around it, mostly on Lowell today, but it does relate a little bit to the world around it, and we'll get into that. I want to thank my Daily Pulse sponsor, Ray Booten, licensed realtor in Mass and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both states as well. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, a business, or a commercial property, get in touch with Ray today. You can find him online at realestaterayBooten.com. That's realestaterayBooten.com. Thanks as well to our friends at WellPoint for hosting us here in the WellPoint studios. It's the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, WellPoint. Thank our other podcast sponsors in a little bit, but you can see their logos scrolling across your screen there as we chat. All right, so to me, this is where the challenge comes in a snowstorm, and how you keep the residents, the citizens happy versus whatnot. Early on in the storm, even the last storm, I felt like the DPW crews did very well. In those initial 16, 24 hours, the roads are clean. I'm going to tell you, I live on a main road in Chelmsford. I still could not see pavement this morning. I could see pavement in Lowell last night.
Yeah,
driving home. So your guys are doing well, but again, we got close to a foot. I don't know what the final number was, and there are still some intersections that are slushy that need to be cleared. There are crosswalks. There are all these other things out there that need to be cleared. How do the priorities work? When do the crews that work those 16, 24-hour shifts that you talk about, when do they come back to finish the job? And how is that all managed? And most importantly, is there a set procedure? Does the city have a set policy? Does Mr. St. Cyr have a set policy for how these storms are handled, who does what and whatnot? Or do you have to kind of play it by ear, storm by storm basis? And as you kind of said, see what you have available for private contractors. How does the whole system work?
So if it was as easy as having just a simple SOP, 0 to 3 inches, this is what we do, 3 to 6, et cetera. It depends on the man hours, depends on the people hours, it depends on the equipment that we have, it depends on which equipment is up and down. I mean, I can tell you last night, even as late as 8:30, over at Middlesex Street, 2 of the mechanics were working on another vehicle. One of our big heavies, right? So earlier when I was there in the day, they were putting on a new cutting edge on one of the heavy vehicles. Why? Because those, they snap, they break, etc. So it's really all dependent on what we have available for that point in time. So that's one thing. What is the equipment? As I was stating earlier, we wouldn't necessarily always ramp up, like you said, with the cathedral for Easter Sunday. Could we have more equipment? Absolutely. Could we? Sure. Should we? Well, that's a financial decision. Are we going to buy a bunch of plow trucks that are just going to simply sit there? What we've been doing now is buying new swap loaders, which are equivalent to 550s. It's not a new thing, but it's new here in the city of Lowell. So they're larger type trucks that actually the bodies on the back can swap out for, say, sand, salt, or a mixture of therefore, and then a dump which would be easily used for the summertime, springtime. So there are items that we could do better, which I think we are doing better. But in regards to standard operating procedures, yes, we do. I mean, we do have a operating procedure right now that we're really implementing. They're called green streets. Don't ask why. I don't know. But some green streets that we have throughout the city, there's about 50 of them, were really challenged streets. They're small streets. Last night we ran an operation, I believe it was 7 p.m., I think it was, and it was on West 9th, 10th, 11th, 𝐂𝐢𝐭𝐲, Ave, all the smaller side streets, which we're having a problem getting our, safety is number one, fire safety trucks down there, but then trash trucks. So we're trying to get down to those areas so we're not having those problems. Now, I took a ride by early this morning. I think it was about 6:30. Some of the streets looked good. Didn't say they looked great. Didn't say they looked flawless, but they looked much better than they did last storm. But let's remember, this storm was, quote unquote, only 12 inches, right? On top of 20 inches that we just had 3 weeks ago that, quite frankly, nothing has frozen. So there are people with pretty big mounds of snow. So we do operate, but we have to operate. We just don't hit a button and 100 employees, individuals, trucks come out of nowhere and just stop moving. The follow-up is what we're going to continue to see because, quite frankly, I was out driving around some of our green streets that we have. I had driven them earlier in the day. They were pretty good. And I drove them later on at night, and they were atrocious. Their neighboring street was clear. So that just tells me that, once again, people are throwing stuff back into the middle of the street, and that's just not how to do this. You have to, I say it how we did it on Coben Street. You have to put a pile in front of your car and behind your car and practice your parallel parking, I suppose.
Are the procedures, the standard operating procedures, are they based on some kind of a model that's used in cities like Lowell? So it's unfair to compare Lowell to Chelmsford or Dracut or other communities. I get that. But, as I look around, the same beefs that we were hearing in Lowell from the last storm, sure, and on this storm you're hearing from Boston, Michelle Wu.
I was
Mayor
just-
Wu is getting
I was
her,
just gonna say
you
that,
know
yeah.
what, kicked in. Mayor Mamdani is now begging people to come shovel.
Yeah.
But in terms of, I'm looking, when I think of Lowell, I think of Lawrence, I think of Springfield, Worcester, maybe these Brockton, these kind of communities. Does everybody kind of use the same model, or has Lowell crafted its own in how it?
We're looking to continue to craft it. Like this idea of possibly, now this is a possibility which we're going to make a call later on today. We may lift the ban, but keep it in place for the 50 streets. And I say 50, I think it's 46 for the 50 quote unquote green streets, which we'll attack over the next 2 or 3, 4 days. So that is actually, by the time you release this at noontime today, we'll probably have that decision by, say, 2 o'clock this afternoon. But that's a discussion that we had yesterday that we're trying to figure out how to do it better. SOPs are great to have in a binder, in a book, to say, hey, let's reference this. But I think SOPs consistently need to change pretty much on spot. We have to continue to move and adjust to what's going on. For instance, if some of our heavy trucks, which are our large triaxles, went down, we could possibly be in trouble on our hills, right? Because that's where most of the time you'll see the big triaxles are on the hills, because they're obviously some of the most difficult places to be, not because the city manager lives over there.
Sure,
People will say that. But that's, SOPs change all the time. This isn't the United States Navy when you're trying to fire a missile and it has to be, Operation 1, 2, 3, 4, and people that think that I just introduced a whole bunch of potential variables that could come out. What is the snow looking like? Were we able to drop salt? Could we brine the roads? Did it flash freeze? Did it go from wet to snow back to wet again? There's a whole bunch of things that are going on. Did people? You'll notice. Please drive through into all my friends on Facebook. Drive-through streets. It doesn't make any sense. And when you're talking about brother and sister streets that are off any given road, right? Any given main thoroughfare, it's clear, it's not. It's not, it's clear, it looks okay. Why is that? Could we have, one possible thing, could we have missed a street? Absolutely. When I was out, and I'm not going to name the street, I swear, someone could have absolutely called. I spoke to the neighbors, and I'm like, have you seen anyone here? And it was a little street that was tucked in. Very possible that Teddy banged in sick, private contractor, and Brian came in and missed that street. 100% potential. And it has a private area as well, a private drive. So did the new driver say, hey, that's a private drive? Maybe, possibly. Not the whole road was private. So, we have a lot of little different picadillos that go on within the city. Is this private? Is it not? Should we be doing it? Should we not? There are all these things going on. And when you introduce new spotters, which we've had, because once again, if anybody would want to do this job, please sign up. I think the market's telling us that this is not a job that everybody wants to do because it is hard. It is extremely difficult. We're in the process. We have GPS on all of our vehicles. We're working on GPS for our
Contractors.
Our contractors. And we'll be able to say to Teddy Panos living on 123 Street, no, that's not true. Cars were there at this, trucks were there at this time, 1, 2, and 3. So that's our, so is that an SOP today? No, but it will be.
Okay. By not having set guidelines and responsibilities, doesn't that make it difficult for the people who are coming in on a fill-in basis?
We do have set guidelines. We do have set guidelines.
But do they know where? Are the routes spelled out?
Yes.
They are spelled out.
Yep.
So if I decide to become a contractor and sign up,
yes.
If I show up for the next snowstorm, I'll be told where to go,
yes,
and what streets and whatnot.
And that's important.
Do I get a street by street list?
And
I do. Okay,
that's important to know too, because if streets 1, 2, 3, 4 are in bad shape, spotter Tom gets a phone call. Tom looks down and says, "Teddy, where are you? What's going on?" We do have to watch our spotters as well. We have to, the spot. Management's watching the spotters. Spotters are watching the workers to make sure that they're on streets 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay.
We've had incidents when somebody may have been on street Z, not even close to 1, 2, and 3. What are you doing? You know, what is going on? Why are you off your route? Everybody has a quote unquote route that they need to be on. Now, some people will be upset because they'll see somebody parked to the side of the road. We encourage that. We want that. If you've never plowed, it's not just sitting in a cab, being nice and cozy and warm, etc., driving. It is the hardest job. And seeing some of the workers last night, and I said, I think it was about 8 o'clock maybe. I'm trying to think in my head what time it was, but it was about 7:30, 8 p.m. Yesterday. These guys were drawn. Some of those guys were 16-hour guys. Some of them were 24-hour guys, but they were done. They were cooked. Driving a piece of equipment for, I'll give you 6 hours is a lot. Especially, and I've asked people consistently, when you see a plow, a city plow, when you see a private contractor, give them more room than you would give to anybody else. There's blind spots, there's issues, there's things that jump out. Some of our guys that are driving on the sidewalks, you know, the snow cats that you can see on the sidewalks, or the Kubotas, or the skid steers, whatever you want to call them. Those things, you don't think they move. I was with one of our workers who's a great guy. He was over in the Highlands, over by Highland Park, and the skid steer jumped on him. It jumped. He went into a snow pile and couldn't get out of it. He had to call one of our tows, push it around, get it. But I mean, theoretically, this is I don't know, but it has to be a 2,000-pound, maybe 3,000-pound vehicle that's the size of a sidewalk. I see people just walking by these things when they're moving, not paying any attention. That's a $3,000-pound piece of equipment. If it hits you, that's a problem for you. Trust me, the equipment will be fine, you know. But a very experienced guy driving it, and it veered off and it jumped on him, and that stuff happens. You know, it's dangerous work. It's hard work.
All right. One more question on snow removal, and I promise we'll move on.
No.
Crosswalks in the city. This is a question for me. Who's responsible for clearing the crosswalk areas?
In our high pedestrian areas, we try to do as much as we can.
Let's say in a downtown.
Right. In our high pedestrian areas, we try to do, but we also ask all of our business owners, all of our residents, you know, in the next 24 hours, you're going to hear ad nauseum, help us out. Take care of your sidewalk. Take care of, you know, your fire hydrant. You know, please take care of your fire hydrant. Please take care of the catch basins where they are, because what's going to happen next, and Eddie Walsh, a famous commissioner of the city of Lowell, he said, God gave it to us. He's going to take it back.
Eventually, it's going to melt, right?
It's going to melt, and we need to make sure that this isn't a one and done. Our entire crew, I would bet, over the next week is going to still be doing snow removal. And the last 4 weeks have been an absolute hellscape for our folks. And what's going to happen next is when it starts to drain, when it starts to melt and everything else, all of a sudden you're going to see all these brand new potholes, and they're going to be every place. Why? Because our pothole crews haven't had an opportunity to be out there. However, we are still making, because this council has pushed horizontal construction, this administration has pushed horizontal construction to make our roads better. We are aggressively pursuing, and this gets into taxes and revenue and everything else, we're aggressively pursuing things, and I'd like to think, taking it from 25 years of property management, yes, you can push things off. And yes, in my own private business years ago, yes, we did push things off, but we pivoted immediately, because you can't let that roof leak. You cannot let those roads go to that level that they are. You can't let your heating systems, which we have done a dynamite job on over the past 4 years, without preventative maintenance, you're in big, big trouble. And I think that has shown. The preventative maintenance of the roads, the preventative maintenance of all municipal buildings, not just schools, firehouses, the city hall, and et cetera. I think that after 4 years, the proof is there. Is it increasing revenue? Yes, it is. Increasing taxes. I apologize. Is it increasing taxes? Yes, it is. Do we still have plenty of room to increase? Yes, we do. Because I think over the years past, this is a different form of management. I have said this, and I hate to repeat this, when I worked for people and they didn't want to do what I wanted to do with their heating systems or their roof or whatever, I politely didn't work for them anymore. I just moved them and allowed them to run their property the way they wanted to do. The way we should be running our property is not just for today. We should be talking about it in 10 years. And changing that culture is kind of difficult. Getting the equipment, making sure that the employees have all the appropriate education to quite frankly, go at some of these new heating systems. Our plumbers are great guys. Our electricians are dynamite people. They really know what they're doing. They're very, very smart people. But with some of the things coming out, we're out kicking our coverage because MSBA forces us to put something that was in NASA 2 years ago, and we're out searching for an astronaut to figure out how to change a air filter. So this isn't like it was, or in most of the buildings that I've always had forced hot air, forced hot water, steam systems. We have a plethora of people in our communities that can deal with that are good, solid workers that understand how to, gas fitters, et cetera, that understand those business, that side of the business. The new side of this world, which we're all going to experience, heat pumps, et cetera, a little bit different of an animal. And it's a new generation of people that I'm not so sure that we're there yet. In 3 or 4 or 5 years, I think that the educated young men and women coming out of the vocational schools, et cetera, might be saying, how do you deal with that old oil burner, right? They may not, have that skill, but they have the skill set from, say, 2020 forward on all the new stuff coming out with controls and everything else.
All right. Thank you for reminding me. Facilities department is on the agenda. We'll get there in a quick second. Mm-hmm. First, let me thank my Daily Pulse sponsors. I should say my Daily Pulse sponsors, Ray Booten, licensed realtor in Mass and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both states as well. Find them online, realestaterayBooten.com. Thanks as well to WellPoint for hosting us here in the WellPoint studios at WellPoint. Your whole health is their whole point. Also, a big thank you to all of our podcast sponsors here at Inside Lowell. You see their logos scrolling across your screen as you watch this here on InsideLowell.com. Thanks to Washington Savings Bank, banking that feels like home. Make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank. TMI Properties, CMI Cares, managing and developing their own properties for over 30 years. Experience the quality, the care, and the value of making TMI the choice for your home. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection to generations of families throughout Greater Lowell and Southern New Hampshire since 1925, and by the Greater Lowell Community Foundation, improving the quality of life in our communities through strategic, impactful philanthropy. Back with City Manager Tom Golden. All right, Senior Center. Mm-hmm. Social media is up in arms. Mm-hmm. You, the city, are giving away a 15-year lease agreement. You're going to continue to pay rent for a building you own, the Senior Center. Mm-hmm. What is going on?
Everything that I can tell you. Once again, the administration standpoint is to accept the issues that come at us and then try to solve them. This happened back in 2001. And I believe in 2001, the best of intentions were to take the old city barns, which I recall as a kid, which was, to folks that don't know, was the old DPW, ashes and waste and everything else.
I grew up there.
You grew up, yes.
Adams Street. I looked out my back fence and there they were.
And all the guys and all the gals and everybody working in that area. So what they did in 2001, I wasn't here, obviously, at the time, but they decided to take it and create a senior center, which quite frankly, after it was built, et cetera, it shut down the Smith-Baker Center. And the Smith-Baker Center has been pretty much vacant since 2022 or so, whatever the final dates were on that. So go 2001 to 2021. There were issues, challenges about where to go next. There was a 1-year extension order from 2021 to 2022, June of 2022. Obviously, I got here in April of 2022. And there was a change in the legal department, the solicitor's office. Everything was kind of on the move. And it was on the move because this is difficult. So to all of my friends, and I'm sure I say that a little bit facetiously on Facebook, it's always more than what it appears to be. We've had a mountful of sessions with the council, which will be released, I believe, tonight. The clerk is in charge of all of those reports, and I believe that will be done tonight in regards to the public, for the public consumption. But the council, we've been talking about two options. One option being, the first option being continue with CDBG monies, community development block grant monies, which essentially does not affect the bottom line of the city because it is grant money that comes in from the federal government. It is to the tune of approximately $500,000. I'm doing this from my memory, so somebody tonight can say it was 506, I think is the actual number. But from a CDBG standpoint, community development block grant, it's 506. And that we can continue down that road. Or we can continue to try to take the property, which everyone believes to be ours. That's where the rub comes in. There is a discussion that I really am probably going to refrain from at this time because I'm not sure where the council will go with this. But the council, at the end of the day, will make this decision as to where we're going to go. From my perspective, from the knowledge that I have, I would say that we go to the CDBG portion and obtain ownership through, I'm going to refer to as option one. Option two could include litigation. And that's probably where I'm going to stop my comment right now because there is a whole bunch of folks that believe they know everything. And what I'm trying to not do is put myself in a position where Tom said this on InsideLowell and, in a potential litigation. As people may know or may not know, I am not an attorney. So when it comes to this type of stuff, I do have some background in real estate. But even when I have as much background as I do in real estate, I always hired an attorney when it came to contracts, and some of the contracts can get really challenging.
Okay. By the way, for folks out there, on Thursday, I was hoping to do it tomorrow or Wednesday, but on Thursday, we will have an actual real estate attorney joining us here on the Daily Pulse specifically to talk about that. She has seen, I believe, most, if not all of the documents. If not, we're going to try to get them to her.
Sure. And I'm assuming by tonight that the executive session minutes will be on. But once again, the executive session minutes, Mike Geary does a wonderful job. He's our clerk. And the clerk will make them available to the council, and then the council will say, which I'm assuming could happen, but if it's the council's prerogative. The council's prerogative, the administration works for the council. So, and I've heard it because people call me, and I really don't pay attention to the comments because there's a lot of folks that have an opinion, and the opinion sometimes is, boy, what a great idea. Boy, I didn't think of it that way. And sometimes, boy, that's not even close as to what is really going on. And it's okay. I'm not a fan. I have knocked Facebook, I think, for the last 10 years. I just think it's a place where people sometimes spin an idea or a thought and they sell it off as, well, actually, that's fact.
Right. Let's spin some of the thoughts. Number one, you brought this forward tonight. You rushed it. Funny, I heard that a couple of weeks ago about a change in the state laws for something that you were asked to do, and then all of a sudden people backed out on that. But I may get to that in a second. But
that's okay.
You rushed this tonight before the public meeting minutes were released so the public could see what was said.
Sure. But
did you?
No.
Well, what was said in those meetings?
Once again, if it's released tonight, I have no problem if it were next week. But we've been dealing with this for the better part of 2 years, the better part of 2.5 years. This has been going on in executive session, trying to put things back together. And there is plenty of blame to go around since 2001. There's plenty of finger pointing. This is a discussion between two entities. So none of this is going to be as easy as, well, this is what I read and this is what it should be.
Was this lease agreement brought in front of the council at the last executive session? What was decided at the last executive session? The minutes are going to be released, so you can at least talk about that.
Is to move forward with a plan. And the plan is option one or option two. And those options.
So you're presenting two options tonight.
Correct. Yeah.
One of them is a lease agreement. The other one is go to court and sue.
Right.
Okay.
Or tell me to go back and litigate. I mean, it gets a little sticky in the public side of things, but that's what the council wants. And, that's what we're going to do.
What do you think is the best option? It's being said that you think give another 15-year lease for a building that you own. This is the argument. Do you believe that's the best option? And if so, why?
Knowing what I know, I think option one is the best option.
All right. What do you know?
Waiting. I'll have to wait I'll have to wait on
Does the city own the building?
I'll have to wait on that.
Why doesn't the city own the building? I've seen documents that say signed in 2001. Manager John Cox. I've seen city clerk Richard Johnson, Dave Johnson's name on there.
I think it was Dave
I've seen a bunch of things on there that say after 20 years, the property will be given to the city.
Right, but is that in the deed?
So that's the other side I've heard.
Right.
That the deed does not say that. And
from what I know, my limited experience, not being a lawyer, the deed rules.
So I've Google searched, and that's why we're having a real estate attorney Thursday to talk to us. But my understanding from Google searches, AIs, whatever, is the deed is the deciding document.
Correct.
And what I'm told is the names on the deed and the intent on the deed is not the intent on the contract that was signed.
Maybe.
Who files the deed?
And I want to say that. I want to say maybe, because as comfortable as I am having this discussion with my experience, that's it. I'm not comfortable answering the questions as a non-attorney. That's why we have a city solicitor. Okay. And so I'm not trying to be, and I'm sure after people get this, it's going to be, well, they know this and he knows this. It's just, I don't know where this is going to go. So, to answer your question, option one, option two, I think option one, to obtain ownership and to continue moving forward, is the option that I would choose, that I think is the best to do, which I will tell the council tonight. But the council, at the end of the day, any of these decisions lie with the council, right? I can put up A and B, and whatever the council deems necessary, I will do. And to the folks, and I'm sure, they're afraid to litigate, that is not true, one iota. I mean, should we only look a few years ago, we litigated with probably in the worst position, could have been in one of the worst positions, with the doctor's office. And the city of Lowell won that litigation. And we won that litigation with the team that we have in place right now. So, in my job, I surround myself with a good team that sometimes makes mistakes, but sometimes hits it out of the ballpark. It is my responsibility to kind of take what they're thinking and go forward with that.
But if the council says go back to the drawing board, and if you do and can't come up to an agreement, will you sue if the council tells you to sue?
I do what the council tells me to do.
Okay, so they're going to have to take this vote tonight, and then tonight, maybe a follow-up vote.
Something tonight, I don't think it would be, if they indeed, remember, the council's at the executive session meetings, right? So they're up to speed, for the most part. Councilors are extremely busy. I don't think people, they are extremely busy people. They have professional lives. They have family life. They have all of this other stuff on top of this, on top of trying to be an expert in every crisis that comes down. I view it as the administration standpoint, not Tom Golden, not because I am not, and I've said this, I'm not all knowing. Smarter people in this world surround themselves with the smartest people, right? And that's kind of what I do. This is what I've done. I've done it in my professional career. As a legislator, as a chair of this committee or a chair of, say, energy, I'm not an expert in energy by any stretch of the imagination. I surrounded myself with people who are better equipped when they're talking about nuclear, when you're talking about oil, when you're talking about natural gas, when you're talking about wind, when you're talking about solar, etc. You surround yourself. You try to get to a level, to a position that is there's a compromise for everybody to get to. Being city manager, the buck stops here, just like it does when you're a chair, but you have to surround yourself with the right people. I believe that our solicitor's office is doing a fabulous job, and I think that over the past 4 years, they've cleaned up a lot of bumps in the road, right? But there'll be bumps in the road when this solicitor team moves on to whatever they're going to do, and there's another solicitor team. There's always going to be bumps in the road. So our job, or my job specifically, is to offer option A, option B, sometimes an option C, but to find out what is best. My recommendation is to go with option one.
Okay.
But so once again, the council will make those decisions.
All right. I fully understand there's some things you can't say, especially if the will of the council is going to be to go back and talk
the council,
more or sue.
The will of the council could possibly be, let's put a pin in this. let's review one more time all of the executive session minutes and come back.
Okay.
That could be that too, which is, once again, totally fine, totally within their purview. If this were easy, it would have been done by now.
Supposedly it's easy. It's,
Well,
I mean, the city owns the building and whatnot. So let me play out what's circulating on social media. And there are documents that are put out there. There are deeds, there are original contracts. I've seen it all. And I'm like, damn, the city's got a really good case. It really is cut and dried. Why are these morons
We very well
giving away a building that they own?
We very well could.
Okay.
We could win. We could lose.
So the other side is somebody either really screwed up on the city side, and when they because my understanding is the seller, which in 2001 was the city, was selling the property technically to this entity.
Correct.
Okay. Somebody didn't put on the deed what was in the agreement, or if they did, that it was going to transfer, it was put under a different entity's name, not the entity that signed the contracts with the city, the purchase and sale, however it was termed. So that is what is holding up and creating this legal debate now about who owns it, who doesn't. I'll let the real estate attorney talk to us and explain that more. Here's my question, though, to you. How did the city record the deed? Is the city, the seller, the ones who recorded the deed in 2001?
I would say it's a bilateral agreement. X sells to Y if Y does this.
Who filled out the paperwork, though? The city?
That's
the city solicitors?
Well above
at the time?
Well above my pay grade. I mean, I can tell you in a typical transaction, I'm buying your house, I go to the bank, the bank fills this out to make sure that the deed is clear, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They do a title search. I mean, I can tell you all the order of operations for it, and your attorney friend that's going to come in Thursday would have the exact terminology. But I've been to enough closings and I've been a part of enough things. But it's an A and B. So Alpha has to agree with Bravo, Bravo has to agree to Alpha, and then it moves forward.
But if there are different entities placed on the deed that were placed on the purchase and sale, that is either tremendous incompetence in a transaction this size of involving a city and taxpayer funds, or whenever I see something, I'm like, man, that's real incompetence. I start to wonder if it's intentional incompetence. Did somebody strike a backroom deal to allow the owner of this property
I've seen a whole
a chance to get out of this agreement?
In smaller transactions, I've seen a whole host of issues, problems. Some will call them Scribner errors. I think this is well above a Scribner error. If it even a Scribner error is typically the comma or the and or the that or something wasn't put in place and it was always presumed to happen. But I mean, I'll leave that to the attorneys. I mean, I feel comfortable enough just not giving legal advice.
Okay.
The legal advice I'm always received is when someone calls about such and such an employment issue, that's an employment issue. We're not going to talk about that.
Let's talk about how we got here to the point where now there seems to be a legal dispute when the intent wasn't the same. First of all, the names being forwarded, the Lowell's chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America, very active out there calling on the millionaires, George Bakrakis and Nick Saris, the two people whose names were originally on the 2001 deed.
I heard about that. I didn't see it, but that's page 2 of the Socialist Handbook.
The insinuation is they're getting wealthy off the backs of the city.
But that's that's page 2.
I won't speak for Mr. Saris. I really don't know him all that well. I know Mr. B, Mr. Bakrakis.
Yes.
The guy made his money saving lives and improving people's quality of life. If you socialists in 30 seconds could accomplish half of what Mr. Bakrakis has, or in your lifetimes could accomplish what he accomplished in 30 seconds of Mr. Bakrakis' lifetime, you'd be very fortunate and you'd leave the world a much better place. But is Mr. Bakrakis still involved today?
I have not talked to Mr. Bakrakis about this one bit, not one iota.
He has not been in any of the negotiations. So it appears to be Mr. Saris is the one who's actively dealing with the city on this?
It's actually Attorney Theodoros is the main point.
The attorney for...
Yeah, and that's very, very common. I mean, it's once again, in my real estate world, I, as a realtor, I would talk to the other realtor. Do I ever talk to your client? Let's say you're a realtor. Ray Booten's here and I'm here. I'm going to talk to Ray. Do I talk to Ray's client? I can tell you this, not without Ray being there. Right. So, and then once we get to a deal that's almost consummated, my attorney or my buyer or seller, depending on what side of the docket I'm on, my attorney will talk to your attorney, and then we're out of it, and we let them hammer out the verbiage.
But the attorney's not going to do something that the client who's paying that attorney isn't telling them, I'm okay with this.
I would say that would be very odd.
Did they threaten to throw the seniors out of the senior center?
They sent a letter which will be available.
So in other words, if you do not acquiesce to our demands, which is another 15-year lease, we as owners of the property, because that's clearly their position, are going to kick the senior center out and put somebody else in there.
It was also, there was a negotiation. 15 is not where it started, and I'll let that play itself out.
Okay. How did we get here? Regardless of who screwed up on the deed and whether it was intentional or incompetence, regardless of what transpired from 2021 through today or whatever.
2001.
2001, 20 years. And by the way, there's some dispute about did the 20 years become active in 2001 when the document was signed, or in 2004, and 2003, 2004 when the senior center opened. But again, we're beyond all that.
Then again, we signed an extension order.
Okay.
We signed an extension order.
Did the city uphold its end of the bargain legally? Did the city do everything it was supposed to do legally? Did you not pay rent?
I believe we have up until the last few years, because through CDBG, Community Development Block Grant monies, we cannot pay through CDBG monies until we have a valid contract. Those valid contracts through CDBG, and I've had a discussion with the folks there, minimum 15 years. So there is not just, let's just do 5 and let's do it this way. There are financial reasons as well from a CDBG standpoint, what we can and cannot do. I was talking with the regional director, which is I think he's out of Minnesota. And he's like, yep, we've seen this before, not senior center, but we've seen these challenges happen before. I feel comfortable in speaking with him as to what our next course of action is, but the council will make the decision tonight as what the next course of action will be.
So, but the city
this week or next week, whatever.
The city didn't make payments for a couple of years on a property that the owner says I own.
Yep.
The city did not pay because the city thought they owned it, or the city did not pay for other reasons?
The city could not pay.
The city could not pay.
Could not pay.
Would it have paid if it?
Sure. If there was an extension. Now, first of all, once again, there's a 15-year. The original was 20. Then we extended it out prior to my being here for another year. It should have been extended at that time for another 15. But I think what they were trying to do at that time was to try to work out the differences of the deed discussion. I'm going to leave it at that. So the differences from that perspective. Well, there wasn't a lot done, but let's remember what was going on, and no one's going to want to hear this. There was a lot of discussion with COVID and et cetera, and people thought this would be an easy transaction. The one thing that I know, once again from experience, is when there is a dispute in real estate, throw easy and throw it out the window. Whenever there's a dispute in real estate, that is a problem, and it is a major problem.
Just ask any family who's had a mother or father die, and they now start fighting over the house.
I was just going to bring this up. Once again, my experience tells me I had done a fair amount of work for attorneys years ago when it comes to brothers and sisters and family members fighting over stuff. It gets ugly. It is long. It is drawn out. It is a he said, she said, but I was told this and I was told that. And at the end of the day, it goes back to, what does this say? Documents are so vitally important. If people are watching this today, if there's one thing that anybody could care about this, maybe they don't care about this at all and they're bored by this conversation right now, is make sure that your quote-unquote affairs are in order. If you think that everything is going to be taken care of, that is just not the case. It is not the case. I was one of those realtors. I could tell you horror stories, as Ray Booten would be able to tell you, because he knows my horror stories, and I most certainly know some of his. But real estate, when it goes bad, it goes epically bad.
Is Mr. Saris upset as one of his sticking points that he didn't get paid money for rent since the CDBG thing came up?
There was an understanding that CDBG, we needed to work out some of the paperwork stuff.
Okay. Is he upset about criticism, about maintenance of the building and that stuff?
I have not talked to him about that.
Right. Because what I'm trying to figure out is it was clearly the intent, because they did put it in documents and everybody signed for it. It was put in documents that after 20 years, the property will revert to the city. It will become the city's. And I get legally what the spirit of an agreement isn't necessarily what the agreement is. What transpired that got us to this point, though, when clearly the intent was to turn the building back over to the city after they got a fair amount of money through the years, which it seems like they did, right?
I'd leave that to the attorneys at the end of the day.
Something happened.
Yeah.
Somebody's upset at somebody,
right,
for not doing something that they thought they were going to do. Or
correct,
somebody's trying to screw somebody. Either the city's trying to screw this property owner or the property owner's trying to screw the city.
But once again, as I stated earlier, when you're involved in a transaction of real estate and it's not going as smoothly as 97-8% of the transactions go, I buy your house for $100. You say great, and we show up and you paid all your taxes and everything behind, and hey, this is a wonderful day. And anybody that's been involved in a real estate transaction that's worked out that way, you know that is true, and that is great, and it's probably one of the most stressful, happiest days of your life. However, to the other people that are listening that have run into the 2, 3, 4, 5% of absolutely transactional nightmares, you can now understand. No transaction goes well. No transaction goes smooth. That's why you hire people to do this, and that's why realtors, people knock them all the time. I'm not a practicing realtor right now, but it is worth it. It is absolutely worth it. There's a plug for my friends in NEAR, and the Realtors Association, but it's because we've seen a lot of different things. But when the wheels come off of a transaction, the wheels, they come off, and it's hard. So anybody that has ever had a horror show of a closing, they're like at home watching this going, I heard about that. I heard about my Uncle Bill. But, my Uncle Lisa, my Aunt Lisa, and so on and so forth. They loved it. Uncle Bill, boy, him and Aunt Mary, boy, they got, it's tough. It's difficult. It's not as easy. I'll leave with this. It's not as easy as everybody wants it to believe. Because, once again, if any of this stuff was easy, it would be done by now. And that goes for development of a tough property, development of an area in the city of Lowell, dealing with snow, dealing with ice. And this isn't a woe is the city, woe is the manager or anything like that. This stuff takes time. It all does. Some things we do extremely well, and some things there is plenty of room for improvement. In general, I think it's the best way to take the city and to take my business, and when I had a business, to move forward in life is, what can I do better? What can we do better? Should we do better? I think we've proven that in some of the past dealings with real estate. We've had some very difficult former developers that wanted to do things. I didn't necessarily agree with how we went about it years ago, but I'm not going to throw shade on somebody's decision before, because when I'm gone, someone's going to throw shade on what was Golden thinking. We're acting within the time of the problems that are presented to us. And we sit day in, day out and figure out, okay, here is the problem. What is the most absurd thing we can do? And we think like that and then say, okay, well, we're definitely not doing that. And then we kind of build a case to try to get to where we're going and to get something as palatable as possible, because it's never, ever as easy. And I say it all the time. One of our former city managers, multiple have said it, and I think it came from one person. All the easy things, they're done, because it's easy to do. The difficult things of running day-to-day operations, running how to get JAM, how to get acre revitalization, how to get HCID up and running, how to get somebody to build X amount of units over here. Should we do TIF agreements, tie agreements? How do we encourage developers not to work in Boston because you can get, and I'm making this number up, $5,000 for rent, where in Lowell you can get $3,000 for rent for the same amount of steel, wood, etc. That the costs don't fluctuate. The only fluctuation when you're talking in real estate is fluctuation of land value. Land value in Lowell might be $1 million. In Boston, it might be $3 million. What is the delta between that $2 million build?
So you've said if the council tonight votes to go back to the drawing board and perhaps to litigation, that is what you will do.
Yes.
If the council votes to accept this agreement tonight, needs 6 votes, just a simple
6
majority.
votes. Yeah. 6 out of 10. We have one councilor who is on.
Rita Mercer.
Yeah. She is on with the the senior board.
Correct.
And just out of an abundance of caution, she shouldn't vote on it.
All right. So should the council agree to accept this new lease tonight, is it ironclad? Are we going to be here again in 15 years where somebody says, hey, tough luck, I found I got a loophole, I still own it?
Once again, I would trust the fact that our legal team has looked at some of the potential issues, challenges, and problems, and then that nothing in this world is ironclad, especially when you have litigation. But could we be in a better position? Do I think we're in a better position with developers today than we have been in the past? I think all of those questions are yes. But once again, I don't throw shade. Or Monday morning quarterback, because I don't know what 15 years will bring. Does that cause someone to say, I don't feel confident in that statement? No, that's an actual statement. That is actually true. We are going to put our best foot forward, like we always do. And quite frankly, sometimes we make decisions that are followed up, right? In this matter, I would feel confident. But, I would always say that we'll, cross our T's, dot our I's, and check it on multiple fronts.
And the final criticism is you brought this contract forward to be voted on publicly by the council tonight. Why not bring it to executive session, since there still could be a negotiation?
That is in the notes. Move forward, and that'll be in the executive session.
So you were told,
let's move forward and do this. Now, once again, this is out in the open. So as of tonight, I can very well see a scenario where the councilors say, okay, let everyone digest this, right? And then move the vote till next week. All of this is fine. The council, to the extent, if people are calling the councilors and they're not answering them, they're not supposed to. This is an executive session until tonight. So, and I'm sure there are people saying, oh, the council doesn't know. The council knows. The council, we've had many conversations about this, and the council knows what's going on. Is it a difficult decision? Of course it is, because you have some people that are playing, Facebook lawyer, and I'll be interested to see what your lawyer says on Thursday, because I wonder, and I'm not asking, but I wonder if it's going to match with what we think.
Is your job getting much more difficult by the last week's social furor and the fact that now we're getting open calls for people to come forward and really go after the 2 crooks who are trying to steal the city? I say that in quotes. And again, my understanding is that Mr. Bikrakis is not involved, and to me, he's not the kind of guy that would be trying to screw the city. No. I can't vouch for Mr. Sarris's character or whatever. I don't know him. But if I were in Mr. Sarris's position and I were getting my balls kicked in and being called a whole bunch of things,
if people are saying that,
I'd be less likely to negotiate a more favorable agreement to the city.
Whoever's saying that, because once again, I don't read that. When people say that, that's childish. It really is. Name calling. Do you really name call, or do you really understand what? I don't know. I haven't read it, so I don't know. But typically, when people get into name calling, when people get into
the millionaires who've gotten filthy rich off the backs of the city. The city has other deals.
There is probably 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, a dozen reasons you can go after any of this. But name calling, I would have to take it from the source, and
you're going to hear it tonight. They're lining up speakers to come to the thing tonight, so I'm going to guess they're going to come forward and say it.
But you know something, saying it online, or texting it, or emailing it, or whatever, or Facebooking it is one thing, but to actually, I would question. I would be careful if you go after someone's reputation.
I was just going to say, so if you accuse somebody of being a crook and they've got very good legal standing, they could have may be the one looking for a solicitor's advice.
Listen,
I'm talking about the public citizens, but I think the councils are smart enough to to not go down that path. But there's some residents out there that are
elected officials can say. People can say whatever they want, and they should be able to say what they wish about elected officials. But defaming people, and by the way, myself as an appointed official, I put myself in that same category with 30 years. But I don't know who said it. I don't know why they would say it, but it seems like childish, to be honest with you. I mean, if you can't figure out what the real thing, what the real problem is, or not have the ability to step back and say, gee, what is going on here? I don't know. I don't know what to say about that, but I would be, before I said that to somebody, I'd be careful. All right, that's me.
Let's switch gears here, get through a couple of things as quickly as possible. Frontrunner City, February 24th. Some loudmouth podcaster said something was going to be done by November, December.
It's
February 24th. Where are we?
2 weeks away. It's always 2 weeks away.
It's always 2 weeks away.
It's always 2 weeks away. But I can tell you this, that there have been private discussions of which I'm not at liberty to talk about. Some of I've been involved in, some I have not been involved in. Our goal is to get our Canadian friends, is what I refer to them as, because depending on, you want to call them Frontrunner City, the UEF, Urban Economy Forum, SEICC, SICC, sorry about that. I even just said it wrong. But depending, I know that they're meeting with folks independently, and
Yes.
we have some things going on from our end.
That I can confirm.
Yes. But I don't want to get into your position or other positions that are out there. Those discussions are happening. Once again, I think we need to file this under, I wanted this thing to start in 2023. Well, we didn't meet him until 2025. Oh, no, end of 2024. So, my point is, I think we are all excited to get this thing moving, and patience on this one. It's, this is a situation to, once again, the boo birds that are out there. What are those two guys from the Muppets? I can't think of their names.
Okay, yeah, the two old guys up in
that no matter what, right? We can't have that. Yeah. No, there's no way we're going to have that. But the fact of the matter is, they're interested, we're interested. We have to play by their music, by their dance card.
They have the money.
They have the money. So, and this doesn't mean we're getting pushed around, and I'm sure there's somebody going to say something that I don't know. I haven't heard a lot about this because, at least from the far left, because it is talking about housing, which I think is important. We're trying to increase business opportunities, but, I hope, and I'm hoping, we're not just operating in one stratosphere here. We're not tying everything just to our friends, our Canadian friends. People know that if people have been listening about what's going on, we have a lot of interest in the Heard Street development. We have a lot of interest in going on over at 11 and 12, which is Hamilton Canal. We have a lot of interest in 15 from a company and an organization. We're working with the UMass Building Authority in regards to the ICC. We've introduced a new piece of land in front of the ICC that could be for development. I've said this, and people are going to get tired of this, but this is the truth. If you went to try to purchase 10,000 square foot piece of land and build something, first of all, the purchasing, the permitting, et cetera, you're talking 16 months, 18 months before you're done. That's a single family house. We're not talking single family houses. We're talking about major development. Are there problems from the city side that we have to try to work with our Canadian friends now to move back to that? Verbiage, yeah. Is it anything that we can't overcome? No, I don't believe that's the case. I believe that we're working together. Did the city slow something down? Yep, we most certainly did, because we're not comfortable. Did they push
So you're
back?
responsible for my prediction being off.
Yes. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it is always going to be the city's. Is the city cautious in this? Yes, we are. Has it gone as fast as I've wanted? Absolutely not. But I don't want this to be a problem for us in the future. So, crossing T's, dotting I's, getting people to where we all need to be. I think it's important.
Okay, I think you answered my follow-up. So, as I understood the whole Frontrunner City initiative from my man crush of 2025, Eduardo Marino, this is a bunch of. They were looking at private development opportunities where people who had ideas locally could put projects forward, but they're also looking at certain lands that the city owns. You spelled out a bunch of them, the Heard Street Courthouse, the lot in front of the ICC itself, which is that a hint that when the state is done using it, that it will revert to the city if they have a good use for it?
I don't think that. I think that the working with Chancellor Chen and President Me and actually Mary Burns, who is the chair of the UMBA board, UMass Building Authority, we only kind of, would I buy it? Sure, absolutely. I would consider it. but we try to. They're allowing us to help guide it. And what else can I ask for? Why would I want to be an owner of something when I don't need to be? If it's going in the direction that the council is in favor of, the administration's in favor of, there doesn't need to be a middleman here. I'm not looking to purchase something and then hold on to it and resell it for a 20% value increase.
But so the private developers, their own deals, our own deals. We have to figure things out. There's some folks out there.
That's up to you.
City land.
Yes.
Property that the city owns, you've got to work out a deal with them to have it developed. Do you have the plans in place? We've seen some schematic drawings that you presented when they were all here from the Urban Economy Forum in July of 2025.
Yes, some of the ideas.
Are these ideas is this what's all in play? That nice looking building I saw at the Gallagher Terminal, the stuff down by Heard Street and whatever. But is this what you're working on with the Canadian friends that you're talking about?
Let's remember the Gallagher Terminal for one, right? The city owns some of it, not all of it. MBTA owns some of it.
Sure.
So there's a lot of, us, you, together, we can put these things together. Oh, sure. Is the Gallagher Terminal an idea? 100%. Does the sitting chair know about it? The secretary know about it? Yes. Met with him 3 weeks ago. Is it number one on his radar screen? Given the fact that he's in charge of the MBTA as well as Massport, I'm going to have that wrong, but he's got two major pieces. Given that's the case, maybe he might forget about this. But his folks know what we're thinking. Dave Bradley, who does a great job at the LRTA, knows what we're all thinking. How to increase ridership, how to do, good positive things. Sal Lopoli once, was one of the major developers here in the city. Did a fabulous job at Comfort Furniture. Right? People called to him. He was over his skis on this one when he was talking about 2,500. 3,200, I think, for housing, and the people. Well, the last I had heard from it, the place is booming, doing a wonderful job. What does that mean? There's more room. There's more room to get into market rate development. The city has taken a very aggressive approach. Acre revitalization, that is completed right now. That is probably one of the, if it's not the first, it's pretty darn close to being the first investment, and that was Will Soucy that did that. That's first opportunity for for home ownership, affordable home ownership. And what did they do? They went down to Suffolk Street, the corner of Suffolk Street and Market Street, which I still call Charlie's Corner after Charlie Katakis. I call it that. I hope that's what they name it. But the building that's going to be there, another investment that the city has been involved in, which is going to be home ownership opportunity, affordable home ownership opportunity. So just within the last 3 years, just in that area, we have increased, give or take, 70 units of affordable home ownership opportunity in the acre that has never seen this type of development before. And if we have our way, it'll be another one. But we'll put a pin in that one.
All right. You keep saying affordable home ownership, and I believe, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but recently it was announced that the Merrimack Corridor has gotten money from the state. 2 big buildings are going to be built on Merrimack Street. They call it, I think, through the TDI, Transformative Development Initiative.
Now, the TDI was something that started 4 years ago.
Okay.
Maybe even 5.
Yeah, but, through the acre, right?
Right. So that's all still coming to fruition about what's happening. Now, the new construction that you're talking about is people that we've been partnering with, which is Lowell Housing Authority.
Yes.
So the Lowell Housing Authority is looking at, and I think I'm going to be right on this, 118 units on some of their open land there.
Is the cost per unit $700,000 plus?
I don't know. Thankfully.
That wasn't a no.
No. I can tell you some of the numbers. Yeah, they're outrageous.
So how do you create anything affordable? So people wondering why the rent is too damn high, why the price of a home, a condo, or whatever is too damn high. If it costs $700,000 to develop a unit,
right? I mean, remember,
what do we? I agree. That's why you can't get affordable people.
Listen, I agree.
Be realistic.
I agree wholeheartedly with people about the affordability of housing. There is no question about that. And I think we've gone into some hyper movement. But a little bit of it reminds of Tom Sr. when he once told me that, I bought this house for $18,000, right? And that's the Golden Homestead, right? Well, it's not worth $18,000 today. Maybe 45 years later, it's probably worth $400,000. So there is a segment. Do I think that we're in a hyper growth? Yes, I do. Is it disgusting? Yes, it is. Is my house worth what they tell me it's worth? I don't think so. It's most certainly not worth what I bought it 23 years ago for. it's worth more than that. So I think that the economy, you know, it's like anything else. People don't want to hear this, but would you sell your house for what you bought it for? And typically the answer is no, that's my money. Well, every time, you know, on my street, when my house goes up for $100,000, well, that pushes the entire market up. So I guess I don't know. You know, tariffs, are they playing a role? Are they not playing a role? It depends on who you talk to.
All right. Facilities department.
Yes.
You talked about needing to, you know, train people for the HVAC and plumbing and wiring of today and tomorrow instead of yesterday.
Oh no, we need our yesterday guys. Hold on. First of all, our electricians that, you know, I don't know much about electrical, right? But wire is wire, but it's changing. The intricacies of the wiring is changing, but that's something that I believe our electrical department is absolutely dynamite people. They can work with stuff that was that's been around since you know, the beginning of time to today. Our plumbers are absolute studs, keeping together everything that we have, our oils and our gases and our fossil fuel, if you would, firing up on all of our plumbing and stuff like that. It's the new stuff that I have concern with. It's the new heating systems that we are, I want to say, required to put into place with MSBA. We're out kicking our coverage a little bit on that. And I don't think that's a Lowell problem. That's not a Lowell issue. That is a state, that is a countrywide issue. The manufacturers are coming out with these systems that are a heck of a lot more challenging, that they're supposed to be easier, right? It's always supposed to be easier. Not necessarily.
It's usually just more expensive. Is the facilities department idea dead in the water? After the meeting a couple of weeks ago?
We had a meeting. We have another meeting coming up with the school department subcommittee meeting, and Chairman 𝐂𝐢𝐭𝐲 from the city council. That'll be happening. We met as a team with Superintendent Skinner 2 weeks ago, where I think we're meeting again tomorrow, just to try to wrap it up. We've trying to get everyone together. Schedule last week was a little difficult because of school vacation, and our friends in the school department, they get their vacay just like everybody else. So that was a little bit problem. But I hope to have one more meeting prior to the subcommittee meeting.
Is the school department or the school administration amenable to a joint facilities department?
I think they're always amenable to trying to save money and try to get it done. How do you do it? You know, it's like anything else. The devil is always in the details. What happens? What do we do? You know, talking about budget, talking about challenges, talking about increases within healthcare system, talking about debt increases, talk about any one of those things, which we could talk about on your time frame. Do we need more people? Yeah, we do. Do we need more DPW workers and parks people? Yeah, we do. We probably could use more people. Would that be helpful when we're removing plowing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Yeah, it would be very helpful. Do we need more electricians? Probably. Given the fact of the number of buildings, do we need more plumbers? Yes, we do. You know, I like to tell this story about two roofers that we hired. You know, we have two roofers that had 25 years in the trade. This is what they did. You know, it's like meeting somebody at a coffee shop or sitting there having a beer. What do you do? I'm a roofer. These guys, that's what they did. We were lucky enough to take them on. They are solving some of our issues that we would have to bring in Panos roofing that would cost us $10,000 for pennies on the dollar. So we're trying to get into that segment. Nobody can just be a roofer because they said they're a roofer, you know, and that's hard. And the plumbers are the same way. Our electricians the same way. Those are highly skilled jobs that I think 10 years from now, it's kind of like working on a car today, right? A guy that was working on a 1950s, 66, try to go find one. And I mean, all of our friends I have a few friends that have these vintage 60-something other Mustangs. Not everybody can work on those. You know, the younger guys are working on different things. And so,
which takes us to the end of the line, budgeting. I'm going to bring you back at some point as we get further into the budget process.
Sure.
Because
I'd love to. I
understand you formulating it. But
you know, if you wanted, I can bring Connor myself. We can sit here and budget discussion.
I'd love it. Yeah. I'd love it.
Tonight, by the way, we're having a budget. One of our 5 dates on budget. We haven't done this, but we're really trying to get our budget out there where people have a opportunity to discuss, talk over the next 5 weeks.
How challenging is it going to be? You talked about, could we use more electricians? Could we use more this?
Sure.
Yep, you could. Forget hiring them. Are you going to be able to retain what you have right now, especially those ARPA-funded positions?
The ARPA-funded positions, when they were hired, people understood that this is going to end at some point in time.
Are they going to be gone?
They probably will be. Yeah, it's an uncomfortable conversation, but given the fact that some of the ARPA pieces and some other positions, we're not done yet. We are getting closer by the day. We're probably, I'd say, 30 to 45 days to having a real clear understanding. The governor's budget was good, and we always thank our friends in the state for everything that they can do for us. But when you start talking about fixed costs, and I think that's one of the challenges, when you talk about debt service going up the way it has, but that is self-inflicted in some of the aspects from debt, not all. But we're aggressively going after schools, things that we haven't done in the past. So our municipal buildings, once again, our firehouses, we have a $6 million docket that we're spending down right now to fix the firehouses that, quite frankly, haven't been fixed in decades. And municipal buildings as well, trying to get things done. We have a lot of opportunity going in there with our schools. I think that out of our 22, and I'm doing this from the top of my head, so you'll have to forgive me, but out of the $22 billion in debt payment we have, about 10 of it goes towards just the schools. And why? That goes towards all the MSB ARP programs, which we've been very aggressive on in the last 4 years. What is the ARP program? The ARP program is windows, doors, roofs, everything that matter in a school that haven't been touched for 20 to 30 years. We're going to continue down that road to make sure that our learning environments are as comfortable as can be. It's also inclusive of the heating and the air conditioning and things like that. So our debt is a challenge. That's one of those things that is fixed. It's something that we have aggressively gone after, our roadway projects, et cetera. Some things that are beyond our control. One of them being healthcare. That could we're going to make a decision. No, strike that. We are not making the decision. GIC is coming for a vote sometime in March on what will happen with GIC. But given right now, we could be talking a $3 million increase. That's a lot of money. So with debt, with debt service, with healthcare, and with pension liability issues that continue to rise, you're probably talking about $9 million to $10 million, and that is a flex number because we don't know what GIC is going to do. But you're talking about a $10 million increase before you start talking about what a school is going to, what will Chapter 70 do to our overall our funding sources. And we had just last month or last 2 to 3 weeks, our numbers for our school, I'm freezing on my dollar figure here. Not the dollar figure. It's $7.9 million of monies that we gave above net school spending. So net school spending is what the state says we should be at zero, right? That's the benchmark. That's the thing where the schools say you're not funding them. Right. So that it depends on who's looking at that. Right. So the state says you must be at zero at least. We're 7.9. I think it's 7.8 to $9 million above that. Our projections show that we'll be $8 million above it. Somebody will say, no, that's wrong, and it's just that's the whole maintenance of effort, argument, and all this stuff. Right. But I think that we're $7.9 million above that ask, plus the debt service, which cannot be included. I want to be clear, that cannot be included. But on our side, we're you could say $7.8 million plus another 10. Chapter 70 under the governor's budget, I believe, was an additional $14 million in cash. The city received, I think it was $780,000. I could be wrong. A lot of numbers jumping around in my head right now, but $1 million, I think, an increase, which is our UGGA fund, our UG account, which is general government expenses. And I'm not knocking the schools. Liam Skinner, the superintendent, has been doing a fabulous job. We've been getting a lot of things done. There is a good partnership. I know people try to say there's not, but that's, people have palace intrigue and try to, if people aren't fighting, some people aren't happy. But with him running the curriculum, and we've had some real expansion and opportunities and growth, and schools going up the ladder I think there was a story 3 or 4 weeks ago about how positive things were going from the educational standpoint, and from my side, trying to improve the physical facility. When I first got here, I cannot tell you the number of phone calls we used to get. I'm not saying calls don't come in anymore, but they're not to the level where we are, because we are concentrating on new stuff, preventative maintenance, ensuring that T's and I's are crossed. Mistakes will continue to be made, but with that process, that standard SOP is getting into play. You know, in my private business, it was always by the end of October, we had to have everything done. Everything was all the gears were greased and giggled, and everything was fine. We're getting into that now with the school department, the school system, in all of our systems, to make sure by October, I'll be honest, it sneaks into December. It's a larger organization. But before the heating systems are turned on, before things are happening, this is actually what we're doing. That is proper management of facilities. That's where we're going. That's where we haven't been. But once again, it increases somewhere to the tune of $10 million-ish on our fixed costs before you get into what I call, how much has a paper towels gone up? What are paper towels? What is toilet paper? What is everything else that has gone up? We have a 2% increase for our employees who have done a fabulous job. That alone costs us $2 million. Our overall figure is approximately call it $99 million just on the city side. So what's that, 1.9 million? Call it $2 million. That's an increase that we're going to have to withstand. With limited monies coming in from the state.
And speaking of increases, trash fees. 44%? Did I see that correctly?
It's $100. I'm looking at, we were at $125 when I first got here. That hadn't been raised since its inception. It is it's a fee for service. If you're not paying the appropriate amount of money to keep up with the service, then the general fund pays it. So anybody, let's say, in a condo, should be not happy about this, because they're helping to pay this debt. It happens all the time in budgets, but should we be doing it? My answer is no. We are moving toward, we went from 125 to 225. I think we're going to be in the 325-ish. Could it be 330? Maybe. And that's just for the homeowner, the owner-occupied homeowner. And it's all about numbers. Then you have your investors, your investor properties, and those folks were paying $425. They may be $525 or $5.50. I've gotten some pushback on that, and I've invited folks. I said, feel free, go look to go hire your own company, because you're going to find the city is still a deal. It's still a good transaction to be involved in. Plus, we're a lot easier to deal with than, say, a one-off company. So we're going to get there. I'm hoping it's going to be next week that we're going to move it forward. And like I said, it's $325. Seniors. We're leaving seniors alone at $50. I think it's $50. They get a much smaller container. But there is a lot happening with trash, and I've been saying this. By 2030, there is going to be a real pain point, and that's not just for Lowell, Massachusetts. But I want to add that we've lined up everything appropriately, where we are doing a lot better than some of our surrounding towns. And I'm not trying to pick on anybody. Baptism by fire, we've been doing this for quite some time. I've been talking refuse and trash and recycling and everything for the last 4 years. We talk on a very regular basis. And the way we lined up our tipping fees and our disposal fees, we brought them all into one contract. We had 4 major companies. And you know what? This is my favorite part. I love them all. I love all the major companies that are trash folks. I really do. I'm going to put them in a boat, which we did, and let them fight it out. Let them fight out for our business. Why? Because we have approximately 25,000 cans, or 25,000 trash receptacles, bins, that they want. And why do they want it? Because they have an opportunity to become the expert in a 10, 11 square mile area. Why? Because they can make more money. If they had to go to 11 different towns, that would cost them a heck of a lot more dough. And I mean, from this perspective, I think that we did a good job.
How much of that increase is due to trash, and how much of it is due to recycling?
I'll have those figures by either next Tuesday or the Tuesday after. Our recycling contamination rate has been going down. I want to tell you that if I read something appropriately, don't hold me to these numbers. I think it was as high as 19%. It might be down to 13%. So we are trending in the right direction.
So the cost is going down of recycling.
No, not exactly. No.
What? I thought it was supposed to make us money.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the whole point when the state made it mandatory?
Yeah, in the beginning. It
So the state has basically created another unfunded mandate for every city and town, not just Lowell.
Well,
you have to offer recycling pickup.
There was
right?
something that was happening though years ago, and we're in 2026 right now. I believe it was in 2022 before I got here, that one of the biggest importers or exporters, importers actually, China, was taking all of this.
Sure.
And they didn't. Now they don't. So now the contamination is really serious.
So now we're disposing of it just like our regular trash, but we're paying a separate
correct
fee to pick it up
and
instead of just throwing it all together, right?
And this is going to get worse.
But you said 2030. That's not it. That date jumps out to me because there's certain milestones that have to be met in 2030.
That's correct.
So the state's about to hit you up for things that will make people's trash go up even more.
We shall see.
In 2030, aren't they?
We shall see. Do they put a pause on that? Do they wait because of food, extra food, et cetera?
There will be a gubernatorial election year. So
yeah,
maybe.
so what are we going to do? I mean, I don't know what we're going to do, but I'm just trying to, I think it's fair to tell people right now for the next 3 years, we're going to be, right now, I think the number was about $2.5 million that we were taking from our general fund operating to bring it over to trash to make sure the trash was paid for. Under the scenario that I'm proposing, under the new scenario that I'm proposing, we're going to get that number down to zero as close as we can. Because remember, just because we bill people doesn't mean they pay it right away. But the city is very good at getting it back, say, 16 months later. So it could run a little bit of a deficit, but it's not going to run it in the $2.56 million. And quite frankly, my intent of putting this together, and the council knows this, is that we would make, when I say make, we would be able to be in the black by $100,000, $150,000, $200,000. People would say that's wasteful until I say, you're talking about a $10 million item, right? And to have $200,000 or $250,000 in the black, which I hope we can get there, that would allow us, when needed, to go out and buy another trash truck, to go out and buy, new lids, to go out and instead of putting capital out, this is where the business side of this comes out. Instead of paying capital for some of these things, maybe we can pay cash. It'd be one of the first times. Water, wastewater, they do a great job. But we are under EPA consent. There will be an increase in our water, wastewater, which will still be under MWRA rates, which people don't want to hear, but that is true. We have high quality water. We have a great plant. We have a great operator. Aaron Fox is probably one of the studs in the industry. Why is he here? Why is he here? He could have been pulled away from any place, and he knows this. He's here because he's from Lowell. And he loves what he's doing, and he loves the crew he's working with, and he's reimagining, reshaping water, wastewater. Him and the commissioner are doing a fabulous job. It's the passion that people have. It's the passion to keep moving. It's the passion to stay positive. And a guy like Aaron Fox, Paul St. Cyr, Sean Machado, Connor Baldwin, some of the top team members that I have, that's why we're as successful as we're going to be and continue to be successful.
You tried to take me away from what I was going to ask.
No.
Would it be cheaper for the city and the taxpayers if they just disposed of trash the way we used to do it 30, 40 years ago instead of breaking up our recycling? And
we could probably look. I mean, we listen. Everything's on the table.
You can't do it by state law.
By state
right?
law.
But if you could, would the city save money? Would taxpayers save money?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, trucking costs. The reason that trash is not only going to go out of orbit, okay, is not simply just because of the new mandates that are coming in from the DEP, Department of Environmental Protection. Not just that. And you know some of this as a food handler. You get rid of your food waste separately, I believe, right? That's going to be everyone. That's going to be a challenge for everyone to do. But it's not just that. It's the trucking costs. It's the rail costs. It's getting, what have we done here in the New England area? We're closing them all down. So what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with your trash? I'm going to tell you what you're going to do with it. If this continues to go the way the EPA, DEP is, we're going to put it on a train to go to, I don't know, anywhere USA that can deal with this stuff. Currently, right now, I've been there and I always get this wrong. I think it's in Haverhill. The incinerator that we utilize is it was used to be called Covanta. I forget the name. Go up 495, go to the beach. It's on the left-hand side. It always has the star on top of the smokestack, and I believe it's called Covanta. Could have changed names by now. As a chairman of Energy, I was in there. It's a fabulous place. It's scary. It's the fires of hell, and that's where our trash goes. So.
We during the last really cold stretch, we actually got more of our electricity from burning trash than we did from wind and solar.
Oh,
so
I used to nerd out. You know that. I used to have that. It'd be typically
the ISO New England.
Yeah, the ISO New England app.
Burning trash has become a good way to create electricity.
By the way, anybody that's interested in this, it's kind of the ISO New England app is really nerdy. It's cool, but you'll tend to see, these are old numbers, but 60% is fossil fuel. Sometimes 65%, another 20% is nuclear, and all this has probably changed since I was there. But I bet you I'm pretty darn close, and then that's 65, 20 is 85, and then the remaining 15% would be burning refuse, solar, wind, etc. Hydro's in there as well. So those numbers can get kind of funny.
Higher percentage of trash.
Yeah.
All right, City Manager Tom Golden. I'm going to bring you back with CFO Baldwin because
we'll bring him.
We'll
back.
talk. Yeah,
you know what?
Drag him in. He's very shy about talking. To me.
You know what we should do is we should gang up on him. Because I'm always how to get to yes, and he is like the guy sitting there saying, "No, we can't do this because of the financial reasons."
He's glum from Gulliver's Travel.
No, he's
we'll
not.
Never make it.
I'll tell you right now. Without him, without Connor and without the entire team, this is what makes this job worth it. This is why I'm excited about continuing on the next 4 years, and we have a lot going on. 2026. 200th anniversary, so many things to offer, and then maybe we can get somebody in here talking about all that excitement as well.
All right, you got it. City Manager Tom Golden, as always, thank you for the time. Thank you to Manager Golden. Thank you for tuning into the Daily Pulse here on this Tuesday, February 24th. Tomorrow, former Lowell Mayor Bill Samaras will join us. We'll see if we bring in a special guest, but I got a hunch we're going to have a really interesting City Council meeting to talk about, especially as it relates to that senior center on Thursday. We will have Krista Emerson, a real estate attorney, joining us here on the show to talk specifically about why she thinks the city isn't in solid legal footing when it comes to the dispute over the senior center. And then on Friday, we'll go live at 10 a.m. I don't know who's going to join me live. Somebody will, but it's the Daily Pulse, the show that keeps its finger on the pulse of Lowell and the world around it. Till next time, everybody stay safe. Shovel out as best you can before that stuff freezes over and the next storm comes in. We'll see you on the other side.